What's up guys, this is Nick at BarBend.com and today I'm bringing you 3 super stupid simple recipes that take no time to prep and will save you money on protein. If you have even the slightest interest in improving your body composition, improving your muscle mass, reducing your body fat, you know you need protein at every meal and it is the most annoying macronutrient to get. Carbs and fat, they're everywhere, they're cheap, they're plentiful. Protein, kind of expensive, kind of hard to get on the go, kind of hard to get in all your meals. But today I am bringing you the #1 tool that you need to save money on protein, and that is the humble Crockpot. I got this bad boy here for less than $50 and it has saved me that amount many times over. Partly because it saves time, which is money. Also because it's very easy to make lots and lots of protein that you can freeze in little sandwich bags for individual servings so you can have many lunches. So I'm not spending 10, 15 bucks on Chipotle every day. But also because the Crockpot you can use to cook the really tough and more cheap cuts of meat that are harder to cook, that take more time to cook, so they're cheaper than like steak or pork loin at the butchers. So when you get these cuts of meat, you get them for cheap, drop them in the Crockpot, and then after a certain amount of time, you're going to get really rich, delicious, flavorful, and cheap protein. And the first one on the menu today is pork. So let's make some pulled pork. Now the cut of meat you're using here is the pork shoulder, also called Boston butt. I've got about 3 pounds here. Normally I get it with the bone in for some extra flavor, but my butcher did not have any with the bone in, so we're going boneless pork shoulder, but feel free to get yours with the bone in. Now also, if you want, it's optional, if you like a bit of a smokier flavor to your pork, you can line the bottom of your Crockpot with a few strips of bacon. I've got 4 of them here. Totally optional though. But whether or not you use the bacon, here's how the recipe goes. So you just drop the shoulder in, you get a good 6 cloves of garlic, like 2 cloves per pound at least. Then you stab the pork all over and insert the garlic into the flesh. Rub it with a couple of teaspoons of salt, like a little under a teaspoon per pound. I like my pork a little bit smokier, so I'll splash it with some liquid smoke. A lot of people also like to use smoked paprika instead. And then after that, you just hit cook. So for 3 pounds, I'm gonna cook this on low for 10 hours, like around 3 hours per pound. That's on low. I could put it on high for like 4 hours if I wanted to be about the same, but we've got some time. And now we hit start. And look at this beauty. Now, as you can see, it has released a lot of water and fat during the cooking process. I like to empty that out before I shred up the pork because it does make the meal very salty, although it does also make it very fatty and delicious. So I guess it's a personal preference, but I pour out the extra salt, the extra fat and water, and then I cut off a little bit of the excess fat as well. Again, this is all personal preference. It's always very hard to control the calories with this sort of meat anyway, but that's how I go about it. And then you just take 2 forks and you shred the hell out of this pork. And then you get some nice pulled pork, a really delicious, really versatile kind of meat. You can use it in egg scrambles, you can use it in stuffed tacos, you can use it in eggs, you can use it in stuffed peppers, you can use it as just like on its own with a bit of barbecue sauce and a bit of rice and a bit of veggies. It works just about anything and it's absolutely delicious. Now, if you want, you can indeed include some, what I like to do sometimes is add in a couple bananas or maybe some pineapple in there before I start the cooking process, which imbues the meat with a generic island sort of flavor, whatever island you associate those fruits with. That does change the flavor of the meat. You can also throw in some barbecue sauce before the cooking if you want, which adds some extra calories and extra sugar, but gives it slightly more of a southern flair. As for me, as I mentioned, I like to just do it like a bit smoky, a bit of liquid smoke and a bit of bacon. But I really want to emphasize here very heavily that you can just do the pork shoulder, some salt and garlic, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Phil, what do you think?
It's absolutely fantastic.
All right, recipe #2 is brisket. Brisket is the tough muscle that covers the ribs on the cow. It is very hard to cook. It is very tough. But if you have a Crockpot, it makes for some really delicious melt in your mouth kind of beef with very little prep whatsoever. You really can, if you want, just drop the brisket in the Crockpot, rub it with a bit of salt and let it go just like that and it'll make something absolutely delicious. What I like to do is chop up an onion to layer the bottom of the Crockpot. Drop the brisket on top. The brisket is going to release a lot of fat and juices as it cooks, so all the onions are going to get nice and soft. And then I like to rub the brisket with a basic spice rub. So really any combination of like paprika, cayenne pepper, cumin, garlic powder, salt and pepper is gonna do just fine. You wanna remember that cumin is like slightly stronger flavor, paprika is very, very mild, so you wanna just like balance your dosages accordingly. Use like a lot of paprika in there. And that's really just about it. So that recipe, once again, onions on the bottom, brisket on top of that. I like to have the fatty side on top so that as it cooks and the fat gets soft, it goes through the brisket and gives it a bunch of extra flavor. And then the spice rub on top of that. So this is about 3 pounds of brisket, so I'm gonna put it on low for 10 hours, hit start, and brisket. Now, if you are using flavors like paprika, cumin, cayenne, it's not gonna be that different from the barbacoa you might get at Chipotle, similar sort of flavor profile, and also pretty shreddy as well. Like you cook this for a nice long time, it's gonna get really nice and soft, and it just winds up, even if you just use salt, absolutely amazing.
How was it, Phil? Absolutely amazing.
Finally, the last stupid easy recipe I've got for you is chicken breast, pulled chicken. Now, I know chicken breast is not a very inexpensive cut of meat like the other ones, but I'm including it in here anyway because it's a really easy way to make a whole lot of chicken breast. And whether you're trying to track your carbs or your protein or your fat, pretty good chance you're tracking some chicken breast in there as well because it's really low in carbs and really low in fat as well. So what you want to do here is, the thing with chicken breast is that it is a lot lower in fat than the other meats, so it's a lot more prone to drying out. So it's a little bit more tricky in the low and slow environment of the slow cooker. All you really want to do to mitigate that though is to add like a little bit of water. So the really, really basic recipe here is like a few chicken breasts, maybe a cup of water in there, sprinkle it with a bit of salt, and then you're good to go. That'll be just fine. It will be the blandest thing you've ever eaten in your entire life. You're really gonna wanna have some sort of a sauce or something, or an extra meal for that to go with once it comes out of the crockpot. What I like to do is, and I don't see a lot of people do this, but what I like to do is put in a few chicken breasts in there. This is actually 2 chicken breasts we're working with here, 2 whole chicken breasts split down the middle. And then I can add a little bit of water and then a jar of salsa. Because salsa is pretty good for you. It has basically no calories. This is a pound of it here, it's 16 ounces, and it has about 100 calories in the whole jar. Great source of vitamin C, great source of flavor. So we have the chicken breasts, add a little bit of water, and then cover it with a jar of salsa, and then you're good to go. So chicken breast is a lot less tough than the other cuts of meat. So you really only have to cook it for, say, like 5 to 7 hours on low. And you've got yourself some pulled chicken. I mean, actually, if you want, you can lift out a breast at a time, as I did last night when my girlfriend was hungry. That's why there's only 3 breasts in there now, as opposed to the 4 when we went in. But anyway, you can lift out the breast on its own and cut it up like that. It will fall apart pretty quickly though, because you have been slow cooking the chicken breast. So it's really better suited to shredding it up with a couple of forks. And then you can have it with, like on a sandwich with some rice, anything you want to do, just like anything else on this list. I need to emphasize, yeah, I did cook it in some salsa, so it's gonna go a little bit better with sort of Mexican themed sorts of stuff, if that's the flavor profile you're going for. Give it some hot sauce. It does definitely need a little bit of extra something because unlike the other 2 meats we've cooked, it's really, really low fat. So it's not quite as delicious, but super high in protein, super low in fat and carbs. Phil, what do you think?
Not as delicious, but super high in protein and super low in fat and carbs.
All right, so that's it. Those are my 3 favorite recipes for saving some time and saving some money on your protein, except for the chicken breast, of course, but it is a really easy way to get a whole lot of protein. Really easy to put in the freezer and save for future lunches. Really, the Crockpot is the best #1 hack for saving money and saving prep time on your protein. The full written article, by the way, is in the description below where I have these recipes written out. And make sure you subscribe as well because we've got a whole lot more fitness and nutrition content coming up.